Hey guys, it's G from the F-Word here to review Bomb Scared. Now, Bomb Scared is a dark comedy and a satire on terrorism. We follow our main character, Martin. Now, in the opening scene, he's sitting there at a dinner table and they're talking about food, and it looks like he's with his family, but he's actually not. He's part of an extremist group called Basque terrorists, and it's just before he's about to carry out a little bit of a mission or has to take something to somewhere. Anyways, cops show up and he ends up fleeing. That's like the first minute of the movie. We follow him 12 years later, and Martin's now putting together another group. He's still part of the organization, but he brings together 3 other people, and they have to wait in an apartment for orders from their leader to carry out their next mission. All the while, Spain is going on this incredible run in the World Cup. And so that kind of gives us a bit of a timeline and also shows how long these guys are actually waiting in this apartment. And while the rest of the world is focusing on that, these guys are focusing on everybody else, not focusing on them. They're really trying to make sure that they don't draw too much attention to themselves and people finding out who they actually are, which is really funny because the movie makes it seem like nobody actually cares and no one's actually watching them. But Martin specifically, who's kind of a loser, is trying to show the importance of what they're doing and that everybody is watching them. So they have to try extra hard to not act out of character or how normal people wouldn't act. And it's just a waiting game for them to see what's going to happen and when these orders finally come in. And that's our movie. This plays out a lot like an English comedy. And by that, I mean like a Guy Ritchie, an old school Guy Ritchie style. It's kind of that kind of comedy. The dialogue is very witty and they talk about things you wouldn't think that they would talk about given the situation. As I said, it opens up with them talking about food, and food is brought up quite a bit in this. They talk about the other extremist groups. Like the regular public would talk about sports or music or anything like that, which groups are better than the other ones and which versions of the groups were better than the others. Like when you're talking about, I don't know, like a Blade Runner, it's like, oh, which cut's the best? The director's cut, theatrical? So it's kind of funny given the subject matter and how dark the subject matter is that they do have that kind of dialogue in there. And when you see this sad man who's played brilliantly by Javier Camara, who, if you don't know who he is, he was in Narcos season 3. As their bookkeeper, and he was hilarious in that too, especially towards the end when they showed his character kind of in that last episode. It was just, he's just a funny guy and he carries himself in such a comedic way, and I haven't seen a lot of Spanish comedies, so this was really cool. The characters are played pretty well. I mean, the big thing with the comedy is making sure that your timing is there. So a lot of their timing was there. It worked. They seemed to gel even though they're completely different people. You had your one guy that came in with wants his own nickname, and he's taking this like as seriously as possible, while the other people just want to get it over with. And eventually tensions get high because they're stuck in this room and no one knows what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Really funny watching them talk about sports and then watching Martin talk about his philosophies on things. At one point they were playing a game and it was a trivia game and the answer's on the card, but they weren't right to him, so they weren't right. You could tell this sad guy is trying to make sure that people see him as the boss, and it's, again, done really well by him because you can buy him doing that or being that type of guy. He just has it in his face and his delivery of his line. The other supporting characters, like I said, are really good and they all play really well together. There's not too many negatives about this. This is your pretty average comedy. It's pretty run-of-the-mill, but it's unique given the subject matter. So I don't know if I could really give any negatives to this. The actors did play their characters well. Some of the jokes didn't hit as well as others did, but when you have so much witty dialogue in there, it's tough for everything to hit. So there's a couple points where the writing could have been a little bit tighter, but that's minor. You didn't have to worry too much about, major cinematography or anything like that because the focus is on the writing and the characters in this small confined space. And that's where it really shined. It's a different kind of show to critique, I guess, because you either like this type of comedy or you don't. And I think that might be another negative. It's not for everybody because not everybody gets it. But I do hope you give it a chance because it is funny dialogue. And I mean, if you haven't even seen Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrel, that's the type of witty dialogue you get from really sharp, clever writing. And if you're not into it, then I guess you can chalk that up to a negative. But it really wasn't for me. Check this out. I mean, this is one of those, you can put in. You could probably watch it a couple times too. It moves along pretty good. And if you're just sitting around and you don't have anything to check out, put it on. If you want to watch something funny, that's something a little bit different and a different take on things and unique, then this is definitely something to take a look at. You can just appreciate it for what it is. And it's not too much of investing your time because it is only an hour and a bit. So it's kind of one of those things you can go back to and show your friends who, if they're into foreign movies and they're into witty dialogue and stuff, it's definitely going to be worth your time. So I don't know. I'd say check it out for sure because it is pretty funny. And it has a little bit of heart there too, which is nice, especially towards the end. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's got a little bit of heart, and the way that it ends is really fitting for the movie itself and the characters. So Bomb Scared, have you seen it? Let me know if you have. I'd love to know your opinion on it and your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You can find me on Twitter at the FWordsG. You can email us at the FWordPodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you're following Entertain Facts on Instagram to get in on our live show and other entertaining facts that we put on there. That's my review. I'm G, and I am out.